Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Time for intercooler and piping today on the Type R EK build. I already got the intercooler pretty much mounted up. It's nice and centered. And pretty much just going to go over what I did to mount the intercooler to start the video. And this kit actually came with a few different brackets. The intercooler itself actually comes with these brackets right here. Which it's funny because these slots that come in here on these brackets out of the box are actually too small for the bolts to even fit inside of. So you would have to drill this out bigger to actually fit the bolts, which is kind of a joke, but whatever. I did have some other brackets laying here that had bigger holes in it, so I ended up using those brackets and got it bolted up here. Now the EK actually has bolt holes on the bottom core support here, and I just bolted 10mm bolts here with the brackets facing out and bolted it just like so. It's nice and tucked up real close to the core support and looking pretty. Now this intercooler is actually kind of tall compared to a lot of them. Sometimes you can actually mount the intercooler from the core support here and put bolts in through the top to the bottom. But this is the way I do it, and I run brackets right along the bottom of the core support, and it seems to work very good. So yeah, there we are. We got the intercooler all mounted up. And now I'm going to start by putting some of the intercooler piping on. And unfortunately on this car it is an EK, and the piping kit that we got is actually for an EG, I believe. So it's actually meant for the piping to come through here. And yeah, so we might actually have to cut a hole here so the piping can fit through. Or I'll see if I can snake it through here somehow. But I don't know. This side's going to be a little bit more complicated, but the driver's side is going to be a little bit easier. The only thing that is in the way is the windshield washer tank. So we will be removing the windshield washer tank completely. That's kind of one downside with the turbo build, is the intercooler piping runs through here, and you can't really get the piping through with the washer tank still here. So I'm going to start by taking the washer tank out. It's pretty simple. There's just a bolt here on the top of it, and then one down there, one here, and then I believe maybe one on the bottom somewhere. And then you got two electrical connectors and two of the hoses. These hoses will obviously leak fluid out if you don't drain this. So yeah, we're gonna have to get this off, and then I'll pick up after we get the tank out. Alright guys, so we got the washer tank out and the inner fender liner. I took the inner fender liner out just because the fender liner actually blocks this area right here where the piping needs to come through. So you either need to trim the fender liner so it fits or remove it completely. In this case, I just removed it completely. I'll let the customer trim it if he would like to later. But I personally don't usually run inner fender liners. I know some people say that, you know, it's not good for the car or whatever, but I don't usually have issues. As long as you wash your car once in a while, you shouldn't have any problems as well. So yeah, removing the inner fender liner definitely opens up a lot of room for intercooler piping and whatnot. So I got all the piping laid out here on the floor, and these are all the pipes here. This two on the left side here are going to be for the passenger side or the cold side piping. And then these two over here are going to be for the driver's side or the hot side piping. These couplers here are just 2.5 to 2.5 inch couplers. And then the ones over here, one is for the throttle body to the intercooler piping, and then one is to the turbo to the intercooler piping. Same with the clamps here, just got a bunch of 2.5 inch clamps, then we got a 2 3/4 inch clamp and a 1 3/4 clamp, or 2 inch clamp, my bad. So yeah, first we're going to get the hot side done, the driver's side, And we'll see what we got working with here. This is gonna have to go something like this. Just like so. This will clamp here and here. This pipe is actually a U shape, but one side is longer, and I think the longer side goes towards the intercooler. So just like so, just like that. So we can get that clamped up, and then the other 90-degree pipe always needs to be trimmed. They send it to you long, and I think just meant to trim it because, like I said, this turbo kit's actually meant for the turbo to be sitting on the passenger side, and that pipe is long enough to go from the passenger side all the way over. But since the compressor housing is on the driver's side now, or the right side, this side, instead of the left, the pipe is going to need to be shortened. So I'm going to get this one installed, and then we'll work on the 90-degree pipe off the turbo. So I am just test fitting these pipes without clamps to start, so I can get everything cut and mocked up. And then once it's all mocked up and everything fits properly, then I will install the clamps afterwards. That seems to work better for me. But as you can see through here, maybe you can see, maybe you can't. I'll try to get the camera in here. So we pretty much have to go from this pipe here to the turbo. And I'll have to get the coupler here that goes on to the turbo. So this one's just going to go here, just like so. And then we'll have to get a 90-degree pipe to connect the two there. Alright guys, little update here. I got the driver's side, hot side piping done. I kind of skipped ahead. I just had to trim that one piece like I said. The one that comes off the turbo, this 90 here. I just had to trim that to fit. And everything's looking pretty nice. It fits very good. It's nice and sturdy, not going nowhere. There's a view from it from the front. Now that I got the hot side piping done, I'm going to, well, I actually already did, but I tightened all the compressor bolts up so the compressor is solid, the oil housing is solid, this thing is ready to rock. And now all we need to do is get the passenger side, cold side piping done. So we're gonna have to go to the throttle body, to the intercooler here, and I'm probably gonna do the same step here and remove this inner fender so I can get at the hole here. And I'm gonna have to hole saw a hole here to get the piping through. And I can't get the hole saw in from the top because the headlight bracket here is actually in the way. So I'm gonna have to drill it from the bottom. So the inner fender's in the way for me to drill it. So I'm gonna take this out quick and we'll pick back up. All right, so I'm cutting a hole in the engine bay here so we can fit the intercooler piping. Just got my hole saw and a letter E. Okay, so I got the hole drilled for the intercooler piping in the frame here, and I just took a piece of vacuum line and I slid it down the middle and put it on the edges so there's no sharp edges that'll dig into the intercooler piping. And now when we put this pipe on, it actually fits. So this will just come up through the hole like so, and then this side hooks up to the intercooler. So I'm gonna dry fit this one as well and see how it is. There we are. It's looking pretty good. It actually fits pretty decent. Now I'm going to get it all clamped up and then we can install the blow-off valve. Alright guys, so I got the intercooler piping all bolted on. Everything's nice and situated. The only thing that sucks is one of these clamps actually broke. These eBay T-clamps or whatever are kind of fragile and they have a breaking point. So don't go crazy on these clamps, because if you do, they will snap. Just like this one did here. So yeah, they don't give you any extras either, so I just used a regular hose clamp. This car's not on that much boost, so this should be fine. We shouldn't have any issues. But yeah, I also bolted the blow-off valve on. This one's pretty self-explanatory as well. There's just a gasket and then a bolt and nut on top and bottom here. And yeah, this thing's looking like it's pretty good. Now I also put the wastegate on. This is pretty simple too. There's just a fire ring that goes underneath the wastegate, and then this V-band clamps it all together. And here's the dump tube as well. I just routed it here because that's the only way it kind of fit. It looks pretty nice. That's all clamped down, nothing's moving. And now I'm gonna go get some oil for the car and oil filter, and then we can fire this thing up and see if we have any oil leaks or anything like that. Now these tile wastegates actually do not come with a spring installed, so I'm going to have to actually look up the tile spring chart and then put the proper wastegate spring into the wastegate, which I'll do as well. Once we get back from getting some oil, we'll throw the wastegate spring in, and then we'll fire it up. Alright guys, I just got a new oil filter and new oil in the car, and now we're going to probably see if this thing will fire up. First I got to throw the battery back in and the battery tray, and then once I get all that back in, we can see if it fires up. Alright, so I just took the top of the wastegate off to install one of the springs. This is the black spring, and according to Tile's website, the black spring is between 8 and 9 pounds of boost, which should be good enough for this thing, considering it's a stock engine on pump gas. I don't really want to push it any farther than that, so we'll get this wastegate put back together, and we should be good to fire it up. I also got the battery back installed as well, so yeah, just get this back together and turn the key. So we got the thing fired up, and here it is, just purring like a kitten. All the smoke here is just from, you know, the new parts kind of breaking in. All the, you know, machine oil and stuff burning off of it. But yeah, this thing's running pretty damn smooth. Nothing's leaking. Return line's not leaking. The feed line's not leaking. Nothing. Mint! Mint! God, these cars with full exhaust and a turbo definitely are so quiet. Like, you would think a turbo would make it louder, but a turbo actually muffles the exhaust. It actually makes it quieter. She's fucking mint. Alright, so now I'm going to be putting the front bumper on the car, and I only had to trim a little bit to fit the intercooler and piping. This grill piece right here actually sticks out, you know, about that far, and I just trimmed that out of the bumper, and now it fits great. So we're gonna chuck this thing on, and yeah, then this car will be pretty much complete. Then the only other things we got to do is put the gauges in, the injectors, and sort out a few vacuum lines. Alright guys, so I got the bumper on the car. I don't know if I showed you this already, but got the car back on the ground. This thing is looking frickin' fancy. All proper and shit. Intercooler fits amazing. It sits real nice in there. Got my vacuum line ran from the wastegate here to the manifold. I got my blow-off valve teed into the fuel pressure regulator here. That seems to work pretty good on these. And then I moved ahead a few steps, and I got some of my gauges ran, like the boost gauge and the wideband and the oil pressure gauge. This air filter here I picked up for the car as well, because obviously if it's wide open you can suck in squirrels and rocks and, you know, all that kind of stuff into the turbo, and you'll fry the turbo sooner than you would intend. So we got the air filter on. Yeah. This thing's running pretty good. She's pretty much ready to be tuned. I'm just gonna have to throw injectors and spark plugs in it, and we'll pick up tomorrow. on the next video. But for the time being, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you guys want to see more of this car. Like the video and share the channel. I'm trying to grow. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy all the tips and tricks on doing all this stuff. So yeah, I'll quit talking now and we'll see you tomorrow.